Hi everyone, it's Chris. Today I am going to be doing a scrap busting project. For my son, for Christmas, I made him a fleece blanket. I pieced it together, I quilted the whole thing. And I ended up with a bunch of strips left over, scraps. Decided I'm going to use that in a project because, be honest, I couldn't throw away these nice little strips, and I couldn't even throw away the little salvages I cut off. And I figured out that, you know what? I know a lot of people are low income and we all love this brand. Well, problem with these, this was $5.77 at my local Walmart. And it only comes with 2 fills. I do not like having to sit there and spend money on something I'm literally going to be throwing in the trash. So I came up with a way to use my scraps in order to make refills and turn this into one of these little guys. With this, you can throw it in your washer. Do not use any kind of softener on it, and do not, when you throw it through the dryer, do not put any kind of static sheets in it. You want to throw this in a load pretty much by itself or with other things that you're not going to use. You want the static from the dryer and the washer to build up on your fleece and flannel in order to pick up the dust and dirt and everything else that you're using. Now, this took me 10 minutes to make. It was very fast. It'll probably take a few more minutes with me filming. And like I said, I am going to use scraps because we all have them. Salvages especially. And this is fleece. I made a penguin blanket on a glacier, so it's a bunch of penguins on a glacier. And I had a bunch of this left over. And me being me, I didn't even want to throw away my salvages because I could find a way to use them. And then I had a couple strips left over when I was done. For this project, you're going to need something to write with. Pencils will wash out. Pens will not wash out, but if you really don't care, you can still use a pen. Sharpies do not wash out, but for a camera, this is the way I'm going to go, just so that you can see it. Now, you are going to need either a pair of scissors or a rotary cutter. The first one I made, I used scissors exclusively. This one, I'm going to use my rotary cutter just to make it go a little faster. Like I said, this is fleece, this is my flannel. This is my fleece. I even found a fleece little strip lying around. You're going to need a ruler because you are going to do some measuring. You're going to need the handle to your Swiffer duster and your sewing machine. You can use matching thread, contrasting thread, it doesn't matter, it's up to you. And this just happens to be leftover. I do have a couple slices of flannel on the back. What I am going to do first is I have my piece is 10 inches tall and I need it to be about 4.5 inches wide. I'm going to measure this and just do a quick cut. You do not need accuracy. This is a non-accuracy project. The faster you can get it done, the better. And literally takes all of a second to slice this up. And if I don't close this, I will end up cutting myself. Although I've never really cut myself on one of these. Now that I have 4 pieces that measure 10 by 4.5 wide. And you see this one's not quite 10, but that's alright. I'm going to take and layer these with one flannel and one fleece, matching one end. The other end, I don't care. And I'm going to put on my other end, I'm going to put my selvage. Just because the selvage is all fuzzy and it will pick up more lint and dirt and everything else. Trust me, drop a piece of this down behind your craft table. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I did find that the fleece and the flannel do pick up dirt the same. Exactly the same. Now that I have two matched and another two matched, what I'm going to do is manipulate this just a little so you can see better. I'm going to sit my Swiffer down and literally just trace it. You want it to go about 1 inch up into the yellow, just so it sits a little deeper. I'm going to go just a little line at the top where I want to put a line. I am making this square. I am not going to try to do a round. Roundabouts are hard. I just tried it. It's not worth it. Then I'm going to make a line right along the edge here. Either edge. Move it down. And roughly guesstimate going down. You need to repeat that on both sets. So I'll do it again. And I tend to like to put mine next to each other so I can sort of guesstimate where I did the first one. Again, a straight line. As close to that as you can get. If you have little ripples in yours, don't worry about it. It's not going to matter one bit. Now, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start laying my strips down. What I found is I like about 4 inches. So I'll fold that in half. And I just am literally going to go around and around and do one big cut. And these are too thick. And that's all I'm going to layer is 2. Give yourself about 1/4 to, I'm not even going to say 1/2 inch. You can go 1/2 inch, but I'd do about 1/4, just a little bit more down from that top line. And just literally just going to go all the way down to the base. And I am going to do a little measuring because I'm going to need to cut a lot of these to go down. The bigger your pieces, the different types of cuts you're going to make. With this, I will not have to cut it later because these are just tiny little salvages. So I kind of like these a little better because I know I'm not going to have to cut later on after I sew. But if I have to cut, I will, and I will show you the other half I will do with the thicker strips. Right now I'm just lining them down, and they're not going to be equal, they're not going to be level. Just do not overlap them. That's the only trick to this, is not to overlap. But I figure this is a very good way to save money for those who don't want to spend it and those who don't have it to spend, but they like the convenience. So your total investment is the Swiffer handle, which again, I said mine's just under $6. Now you could always do a cheat. Go to the Dollar Tree You can do the same thing with a Dollar Tree one. I mean, just literally doing the same exact thing. And I think we're just about done. And once you get this laid out, comes the fun part of trying to move it to the sewing machine. I am sliding this under my machine and getting about in the middle. Maybe over just a hair. So what I'm going to do is line it up about in the middle of the two lines. So these outside two lines, I'm going somewhere about the middle. You don't have to be precise. It's not going to make that big of a difference. I am going to stay away from that top line because I am going to be sewing there. So avoid that and stay away from the two side lines. So you want to try to aim the middle all the way down. And if you do it right, you can have little seeing visions going all the way down. I always do a back at the beginning. That way my thread doesn't come out. And you may have to lift that presser foot a few times. Hopefully not too many. And hopefully before you get a big wrinkle like that. I'm easily able to manipulate it back down. Slow seems to be where this one likes. And holding the sides is a very good thing. I'm putting quite a bit of pressure in order to keep it from sliding like you saw a minute ago. Now I'm on the very last one. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. And then all the way down. Okay, so now I got something that looks kind of raggy, which is what you're looking for. And you can still see the outside lines. Now I'm going to repeat it on this one, but this time I'll use, let's see, what were these? I think these were about 1 inch strips, 1.5 inch strips. Now, just to save myself, I'm just going to fold these in half. So, I'm folding it in half on these 1 inch strips. Cut right across the middle. And again, giving myself just a hair bit of room right here. I'm going to lay these out. This you will have to cut later. The other one you will not. So the thinner the strip, the less cutting you'll do in the end. And I need just one more to fill this. Now I am using a solid color because that's what I had left over. You can use printed or anything you like, whatever you have on hand. This is just to get rid of some of that little bit of fabric that you just can't let go of because it's enough that you can do something with and you just haven't figured out what. I would never throw this stuff away, but it does make a nice little project here. And again, back stitching. I am going right down the middle of this. And all I'm doing on this one is I'm pushing in between the two. I'm just holding it down in between these two. Okay, now I have one with the bigger strips, and I have one with the tiny strips, just to show you the difference. You can already start seeing this looks a lot fuzzier, and the fuzzy part is actually the salvage. Now, I'm going to take and match my two gray sides. And there we go. Now, this is just by feel. I can feel that this is where my black line is there, so I'm going to try to match it. You could always do the pin method, put a pin right through that piece of black line, and then go straight the best you can into this. Make sure you have your cut pieces facing out, these outside, because you're not going to flip this. That's too much work. It's a headache. Trust me, don't do it. Make sure they're on about like that. You can pin it up here if you wanted to pin it. I did not pin it. I am not going to pin it. That is too much on my machine, and this is a small enough piece as it is that I can just hold the two pieces together. I'm going to show you the machine as I manipulate this. Here comes the hardest part, is pulling all of the little pieces away from your black lines. So everything you're going to push to one side. That goes for both sides of these. So all of the top pieces you can see are crunched in here. All of the little pieces on this side are crunched on this. So they're both going the same way, which is down and away from where my needle's going. For those who noticed, yes, I made a little boo-boo. I picked up a little salvage on the back side of this one. I don't care, I'm going to leave it there. I know who's getting this, and she will appreciate anything I can give her. I have a few friends that are retired, don't have a lot of money. This is a great way to help them out, because this is something they don't have to buy, and it really does work. Okay, my machine does not want to start. It wants to bunch up. There we go. Only good part about it bunching there, that back stitched it for me. You may have to lift up your presser foot. I have a guide foot on mine, which means that it's quite a bit longer. I don't like switching. I probably should, but I don't like switching. Now, I am going to try by holding this side to sew on the line. I am trying to get on that black line that I just drew, or as close to it as I can, while continuously watching the back side and keeping those little fuzzies back. And just, there we go. I'm going to reinforce my corner just a hair bit. Now when you get to your corner, is this one of those things that I say it's just too much of a pain in the tush to try to do round when you can just easily pivot like that. That took a lot less time to pivot. I do like reinforcing anything that I'm going to be using a lot. This will get a lot of use. Slow is better when you're doing a lot of thick layers like this. That's why my machine is set on low. Now, I am on the second corner. Here comes the trick. You have to move all of your edges again towards the opposite side of where you're sewing. If you're sewing with your little flaps on the outside, then you need to do the opposite of what I'm doing, but you need to get them all out of your sewing way. You do not want them in the way while you're going through, because you're going to be using, oh, well, my machine said put the presser foot down. And again, when you use this, you want all the little fuzzy bits out. And the reason you hear all the tick, 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 tick is because the machine's working hard. I'm going through 2 layers of fleece and 2 layers of flannel. Plus, it's pushing all of this extra fleece and flannel that I used for the ragging. And that is technically the right term for it, because these are considered a rag style. If you've ever done a quilt, you know what a rag quilt is. It's that nice fuzzy fluffy feeling. It's done with flannel, and it's done exactly in the same type of manner that I'm getting ready to do. Now, I reinforced up here because this piece was a little shorter. I'm reinforcing the very bottom as well. And at this point, we are almost done. Now we come to the harder part. This is already all ragged up for me, so I don't have to do anything there. What I am going to have to do is take my scissors and cut up to the stitch line. So do not cut your stitch line, but cut up to it. And if you get a little piece like this one that just got caught in, snip it. It'll be fine. Just snip it. Now the next thing is taking my handle. I'm not even going to start cutting these. I want to take my handle and make sure it fits. I want to shake it really good upside down, make sure, okay, it's not going to slide off. That's a nice tight fit. If yours is loose, go back in, mark, and skim it down with another seam if you need to. Again, like I said, this one's nice and tight. It's not coming off. I mean, I have to give it a nice tug to get it off, so I'm good. Now, up to this point, we've been working in a square. Trust me when I tell you to do this. Eyeball it and round the edge a little bit. I never understood why the Swiffers have a rounded edge. I thought it was decorative. It's not. It's actually functional. Please round your edges. You'll be very thankful later. And I'll start showing you, if you snip up, do not hit that line. Do not hit your seam. Give yourself about 1/4 of an inch between where you're cutting and your seam. I'm doing these eyeballing about 1/4 of an inch. I do a lot of quilting. I know what it is. This is probably just over that. I think this is about, on my measuring mat, that's about 1/2, which is fine for this part. But if you see what I'm doing here, I'm just going up, not all the way, especially at this corner, and this corner is what I want to show you. I mean, this does not take long at all to do. And it's just like that. And once you throw it through the dryer the first time, this fluffs up beautifully. But what I wanted to show you is, see how much nicer that looks versus the one here where I did the square edges and it just didn't want to cut correctly. And now I can't fix it, so it is what it is. Round those edges. That is one of the key things, and I can't stress enough. And then just literally you're going to go through and cut this. Now, I did a trick earlier, and I'm going to show you, and I have my handle in for a reason. And that is if I can get my cutter out. I'm going to take this and push down. I'm a little bit away from the edge. I'm going to push and away. This takes a lot less time, a lot less effort, and you get the same exact ragging effect. That's the part I love. Just make sure you get it semi-close to that stitch line. And you can go all the way down like this in no time. And if you miss, like this one didn't cut very well, it's probably because I'm not on a level surface. That took me less than a minute to do. Now, these little guys here can be done one of two ways, and I always take out that because you're going to need to. You can fold this big mop in half, and that's the term I'm calling it now is going to be a mop head. Lay these down, and you have 4 layers. You're going to do the same thing with the rotary cutter, is pushing, going out, pushing, going out, about 4 times. This is the fastest way to do it. If you do not have one of these, I highly, highly recommend getting them. They're not expensive. Small cutting board was about $15. This, another $15. But this is so worth it. You can always go back if you do not have those and do not want to spend the money on them. Keeping this folded in half like this, you're going to cut straight up into that seam. Doing this, the only thing you're going to cut is the mop head. So be careful you're not cutting your mop head. Your duster head there. And then you just keep going and going until it's all done, all ragged up, nice and fluffy. And like I said, this didn't take any time because I actually prefer to use my cheat sheet here. Like I said, this is the best scrap buster I have ever found. Only takes a few minutes. Saves you hundreds of dollars and still gives you access to use a very, very awesome conceptual project. I'm going to end up going like this. And this would work a lot better. There we go. Now that I have it on a hard surface. And just shake it up. Run it through the washer dryer. And as I said, I throw this through the washer with my favorite laundry soap. No, I do not use any of my fabric softeners, and I do not use any kind of bounce or anti-static sheets, because the static is what you want this to end up with. The more static, the more it will pick up. And I believe we are done. Like I said, this was only, it takes a few minutes to do, and it works great, and it kills your scraps. I'm going to go and make a couple more of these because I know someone that could really use a few of these in her life right now. I already have about a dozen myself, so I'm going to go make her some because I love my mother and my mother asked me for a few. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Catch me on Facebook. I am actually going to make up some kits to make these, and they will be for sale, I am hoping, in April of 2019. And if you don't see them there, go to my Facebook page, send me a message, and I can make you up a kit to either sew yourself, or I can sew you up a couple and sell them to you pre-made. But for today, I'm going to wrap it up. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time.